Alright buds, and welcome back to the playoff picture. I am your host Blue Rogue, and yeah, we're going into the final week of the GBA regular season, and there's still a few things left to play for, so that's pretty exciting. But without further ado, let's get right into the standings. First of all, let's congratulate Envy on officially clinching the number 1 seed in the Sun Conference. He has, despite losing last week, managed to clinch because his differential is now just unsurmountable by Jolt. Speaking of Jolt, his number 2 seed is still under threat because a big win for Lars next week and a big loss for Jolt next week could see Lars leapfrog him in the final week, so that's pretty interesting. But of course, the biggest congratulations this week goes to Lars, who has officially clinched playoffs now with that win over Jolt. Despite me saying every week, oh, Lars has a very difficult schedule, I could see him dropping out, he's managed to prove me wrong and managed to clinch playoffs with a week to spare because his differential is just too high and Geo can no longer catch that. But let's get into the interesting part, shall we? And that is the last playoff spot. It's a race between Joey, not Jerry. There's a difference between those names. I am saying Joey, not Jerry. But last week a lot of people said, is he saying Jerry or Joey? So I thought I'll just address that now. I know it's Joey. Anyway, yeah, Joey, if he beats Lars, will make playoffs. But if he loses to Lars and Geo beats Coach Z, then Geo makes playoffs. So very exciting last week. Two very, very important games to play in the Sun Conference there. As for the rest of them, they're already eliminated. But I guess congratulations to you, Crimson. You managed to overtake Aaron Zeng in the last week. So yay. But let's move on to the Moon Conference. The Moon Conference is a bit messy in terms of who plays who in playoffs and everything, because it all still comes down to this week in regards to that and seedings and stuff. So I'm not going to go into too much detail on that because it's just a case of, hey, if you win you get this and if you lose you get that. But the 3 teams that are now officially clinched are Gator, John and Chimpact. The Florida Gators, the New Orleans Pelipers and the Philadelphia Scissors all securing playoffs now. And the teams that are still fighting for that final spot is the Tampa Bay Lux Rays, coached by Monotui, and the Milwaukee Brewers, coached by Wolfie Glick. What happens here is if Mono loses and loses pretty badly as well, we're saying 4-0 or greater. It's just an example. If Wolfie wins 4-0 and Mono loses 4-0, then Wolfie would overtake Mono. It's a very messy picture, but there's a possibility that Wolfie could still make playoffs. But it does require Mono to lose pretty badly next week and Wolfie to win pretty handily next week. But overall, it's still a race and still an exciting prospect going into the last few games, or last games of the season really. So with that in mind, let's go over the fixtures. I'm just going to highlight the important ones in terms of who can clinch playoffs next week, rather than going into the seedings and stuff, because the seedings are a bit more messy and I'm a bit too lazy on the old graphics department. So let's just go over the fixtures real quick. As I said early on during the standings discussion, Lars faces Joey this week, and that's a very important game. If Joey wins, just the case of if Joey wins, Joey's in playoffs. But if he loses, there is a chance that he could still lose 1-0, I guess. And if Geo wins against Coach C 1-0, then Joey will still make it. But the likelihood of him making it if he loses and Geo wins is very slim. So basically Geo has to beat Coach C this week to have any sort of chance. And you've got to fancy Geo's chances. Coach C's not had the best of seasons, but Coach C will want to go out with a boom rather than a whimper. So overall, that's a very interesting race. So let's have a look at the Moon Conference real quick. Moon Conference is a little bit more complex, but if my math is right, then it requires Mono to lose pretty pretty harshly for Wolfie to make it. Basically, if Mono loses like, let's say 4-0, and then Wolfie beats Chimpact like 4-0 as well, then Wolfie will overtake Mono in this little Moon Conference race. But overall, it's looking likely that Mono will make it, but you know what, it's a final week, anything can happen here, and I wish good luck to all these teams and hope they have a fantastic last game of the regular season, as I do with all the coaches, as while the other coaches have less to play for in terms of like playoff implications, they still want to have a lot of fun and are still great competitors, and I'm sure the matches will be very fun to watch for you all. But let's have a look at the bracket before we leave. The bracket has stayed the same in the Sun Conference as things stand. Envy will face Joey, and of course Jolt will face Lars, and I've got nothing more to discuss on those matches right now, but I think like there's a chance that these will switch around a bit going into the final week. You could see Joey overtake Lars in seedings, or even Lars overtake Jolt in seedings. So overall, this is definitely subject to change in the last week. You could also see Geo, of course, make it and take Joey's spot. But let's have a look at the other side of the bracket. This just keeps changing every week. It's like one week I'll see Gator versus Mono, the next week I'll see Gator versus John. Or it's because these teams are so close in terms of record and like differential and stuff. It could still be anyone playing anyone going into the final week and going into the playoffs. So look out for playoff picture next week, where we'll have the final like standings and the final bracket for the playoffs, which will be very exciting. We can then go over like a bit more in detail how I feel those matches are going to go down and such. But until then, I guess I'm going to leave you with this little bracket. It's looking to be shaken up to quite an exciting postseason, and I hope you have enjoyed the final week of the GBA regular season. And yeah, let me know who you're rooting for to get those final playoff spots in the comment section below. But without further ado, I have been Blue Rogue. This has been the playoff picture, and I'll see you next time.